Hello everyone, welcome to the Jenkins Infrastructure Weekly Team Meeting. Today we are the 1st of April. We already did the April Fools, so now everything says during this meeting will be serious. Just a spoiler. Sorry for the people who like to laugh. That could, especially certain topic would have been better if they would have been fools, but yeah. Today, around the virtual table, we have myself, Damien Duportel, Bruno Vararten, Stéphane Merle, Mark Waite, and Jared. Hello, everyone. Let's get started around the announcements. Last week, Jenkins Weekly Release 2.503 has been released with almost no issue. Uh, package failed due to OSL slowness, finished manually. That has been a long time since we had an issue on OSUSL. We had one, so that's just the sync. So, but that's okay. Everything went well. We don't have a weekly release today, as a reminder, because Jenkins 2.503 will be released tomorrow as part of the security advisory, along with the LTS release. That's the second announcement. Tomorrow, we have a security advisory on Jenkins core. So that will involve both weekly and the latest LTS line. So reminder tomorrow, please do not break the infrastructure. That's more reminder for Damien Duportal himself. Third big announcement. So we have checked and looked at the cloud billing in detail during the past 2 weeks. And in the current consumption, if Azure and Microsoft do not renew their sponsorship, we are at risk of not being able to finish the year. So I've opened an issue, which is linked here, and that will be part of the next milestone. That's a kind of epic issue, which lists the current consumption we have had in the past month and we have currently. And I've commented with a first short-term proposal plan that goes pessimistic, that say we assume both Amazon and Microsoft won't renew their sponsorship program this year. How can we go up to the end of the year? Or at least as far as possible, time for us to find other places and locations or sponsors. The takeaway is that on that short-term proposal that has been discussed with Stefan, and Mark, looks like my proposal you agreed with, the idea is to say we have on Microsoft credits for 40K credits that expire end of May. They might be extended. We might have more credits, but we don't know. So I'm going to assume that these credits are wasted if we don't use them before 31 May. Second, we have credit in Amazon, but their expiration date has been moved up to 2027, which means we can delay consuming these credits. So the main idea, we'll discuss that at the end of the operation, but the main idea is to move CI Jenkins IO back to Azure for 2 months. So we delay the consumption of Amazon. So instead of having 4 months of CI Jenkins IO in Amazon in front of us, we would have 6 months, 2 months in Azure, 4 months in Amazon. Even more if we can compress the costs. The second line is that we assume that we will need to go back to move some resources back to Azure CDF in June or end of May. So we will need to pay again in the Azure CDF bills, which means we should find a way to shrink as much as possible CDF billings. There are different paths for that. We have few already created an issue on the easy one, the one that can be done quickly. We will discuss this later, but that's the main takeaway on the announcement. We will need to search a new sponsor if Microsoft and AWS doesn't renew theirs. Do you have any question, things to discuss, or other announcement to add? Yes, Mark.
Yeah, just our hope is that both of them will renew, but
Yes.
we can't rely, we need to plan for worst case. And so if this is the way to stretch the donations to get maximum benefit for the Jenkins project. I love it. I wish I'd thought of it before. I think it's great knowing that we've got a time-based expiration on the Azure credits. let's use them, and then we'll switch back and use the AWS credits.
Exactly. Any question here? Okay, so that will be our main, let's say, focus on the upcoming 2 weeks. About the upcoming calendar. So tomorrow we have Jenkins 2.503, 504, sorry. And next week, Tuesday, in 7 days, we will have, as usual, 2.505 weekly release automated like every Tuesday. The next LTS is tomorrow, part of the security advisory. So Bruno, you are leading this assisted by Chris Stern. As Mark wrote, Tim Yacomb, the release officer, agreed to have the LTS by, sorry, no, my bad. I'm missing two things. That's the current LTS, which means 2.504 it might be the next LTS line, right?
Correct. Yes, 2.504 does not release until the 30th of April. So that's a different thing than
Yep,
492.3, right? Tomorrow's security release,
is on the
we've
hold
got the
line.
right people. Bruno is the lead, and you said, Stefan, you're going to be assisting from the infra side as needed? Great.
Yes,
Oh,
Damien too, yes.
great. Excellent. And
Like
Bruno,
usual.
I have to ask the question to Bruno, are you comfortable with the release checklist and where we're at?
Yeah, I think you want.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Cool. So that's here. I don't have anything else on the next weekly and LTS. Next security release is tomorrow, as we already said many times. And in the upcoming 3 weeks, we have a set of credentials that are expiring. First, we still have these 4 from last week. We chose with Stefan to delay them to this milestone since we are focusing on other tasks. Worst case, we will have to do them Monday, but that should be quite easy. That could impact the deployment of Jenkins.io, Javadoc. The GeoIP is low priority because it's just delay of 1 week the update of the GeoIP data. And that could delay the deployment of docs Jenkins.io from Infra CI. The 15th of April, we will have a credential expiring on CertCI, which is used to spin up Azure machines. That we have the right opportunity here to stop using that credential and use what we call instance identity. We did it on Amazon with the CI Jenkins.io controller. Since we move it back, we have the opportunity to try it right now. If it works with CI Jenkins.io, that means we can use it for Cert CI. Cert is the simplest case. It's only creating machine in one resource group. No Kubernetes, no storage, no fancy things. So that should be an easy one. That will avoid that credential to be renewed every 3 months. And for the same level of security, since CERT is a private controller. Finally, 18, we have one credential, the one we use on Infra CI with update CLI to read the Azure API, mostly checking what are the latest available image versions, etc., etc. So that one has to be renewed. I don't have a next major event in which the infra team member will be there. Do you have, folks? I don't think so. Oh, okay. So quick look at the budget. So I haven't checked the budget for April since we are the first day of April because the data we have today is non-representative and is not closed, and the forecast is absolutely insane. March in the Azure CDF, we have consumed 4.2K. So I've written forecast at 4.3 because every month we have 100 bucks for support. So we are under the expected area, as a reminder. In theory, 5K is the limit, and we have put ourselves the threshold of 4.5K every month. 5K per month is 60K yearly, and we have 4.5K because that allows us to have a margin for end of year. Clearly, we have reasons to think that we might have to hit that margin. I've did a breakup of the main cost centers just for you to have an order of magnitude. Maybe we can decrease them, maybe not. I don't know. I don't have any levers. It's just indicators. So this is by kind of, let's say, top level charges by type. The other are below 100 bucks per month. So that's almost nothing. So that means if we need to do some economies, these are the quick not, maybe not, but efficient ones. Did the same on the Azure sponsorship account. We are still consuming 4K per month. So that's the one that theoretically ends in March. So since we have 43K remaining, with the current rate, we should be around 34 to 35 credits left end of May. If we add CI Jenkins IO, that's close to 10K per month. So we will be closer to 13 to 14 if we have the ability to have CI Jenkins IO. So clearly that's always things good to have here. I did a breakup of the consumption to have an order of magnitude. First, the VMs, reminder that they are non-spots. So we won't transfer the cost as it when we will move it back to CDF, because we will enable spots, so that will greatly decrease that amount. Redis is the second one. We have the Redis base used by Mirrorbits for Get Jenkins IO and the Update Center. Given the monthly cost, I wonder if it isn't worth to run Redis ourselves, especially because we don't really care about availability on this one. And because, yeah, even if we decrease the availability of Redis, I don't mind running Git pure in memory. We don't really care about the filling. Anyway, NAT gateway, we might have increases because clearly we have the same here, but we have almost 1K of cumulative NAT gateway. Maybe we can improve things. And storage. Storage is almost 1K we can gain. So that's an order of magnitude. We are under the budget, the expected budget, but we have to plan for after May. Any question on these two? DigitalOcean, we have consumed the usual. So we have 14,000 credits left until end of year. So clearly we are able to move easy elements in DigitalOcean from the AWS CloudBees account, but also from Azure. We should be able to move the some atomic elements. Reminder, we cannot run CI Jenkins IO in DigitalOcean because they don't provide Windows virtual machine. They provide Linux, they provide Jenkins dynamic agents, they provide a lot of other things, but yeah, if we need Windows virtual machine agent, we will need to find techniques. AWS CloudBees. We haven't done anything, so the cloud consumption is close to what we had last month. Right now, this one is in pause. As a reminder, everything here should move to DigitalOcean. And finally, the sponsored account, so the one we want to last longer. We should have around 28K credits until 2027. We were able to control the cost because we were below. I targeted myself trying to have 15,000 K. We are at 14,600, so really good. Thanks for the help, Stefan, clearly. As an order of magnitude, the past 10 days were below 200 daily, which means 6K per month on forecast. So that means we have 4.5 months if we keep this rate. If we decrease the rate, we can go even further. So I count 4 months because half a month is the time for us to move things around now and then back if we need to change. Yes, Mark?
So two things that I may have done that may increase costs, and I'm not terribly embarrassed about. So over the weekend, I had to run the bomb build twice in order to get a release. For whatever reason, the first run didn't notify GitHub that it was complete. So I had to do it again. but it sounds like in your sample, you didn't see that as a major explosion of cost. So
No.
that's really gratifying. The other is yesterday, I cleared a bunch of acceptance test harness pull requests that had piled up.
Mhm.
Um, the queue of piled pull requests is now much lower. But of course, that means yesterday for about 7 or 8 hours, I was running those high mem machines for ATH. But I guess we'll see it next week when you sample again.
Yes, clearly. Most probably tomorrow. However, don't forget that everything is in spot for the agent,
Oh,
whether
okay.
they are
So
container or VMs. So that clearly,
even when I was doing those high mem instances, those are
yes,
spot instances. So they're as low cost as we can make them.
exactly.
Excellent.
And if you want an order of magnitude on the BOM, we have 1 to 2 BOM weekly build. So let's say I think it's now 300 or 400 parallel PCT tests twice a day on average during working hours. When you run a release, you have 3 lines. So it's as if you have three builds per day.
Okay.
So usually running twice, it's 6. So it's just, let's say, 3 times more than usual. But given the rate of updates we had on the past week, running the BOM doesn't change a lot compared to the usual rates,
Great.
which means we won't decrease cost by decreasing the size, the frequency, sorry, of BOM releases. We
Oh,
will drastically decrease cost by changing the way BOM is working. So the infamous chunk technique, I haven't had time to write that issue yet. That will be something to do, but yeah.
Wait,
great.
and one easy save would be to be able to remove all those Windows uh, VM. Windows VM are costly because it's 1 hour.
No. It's now by minutes on both Azure and Amazon now. Yeah,
Uh,
Oh,
it's the
so
which
case.
in this one.
which is really great news,
Oh
right?
yeah,
It's like, oh yeah, by minute, instead of being charged for an hour of Windows use for 5 seconds or for three
I missed that
minutes,
one. Yes, cool.
that's great.
So these are good news. So that's the current status for now. We haven't said anything about changes, but yeah, we know that we have 4.5 months with the current rate. That's an average. So let's count 4 full months of CI Jenkins IO running on that account without any more credits. Reminder, expiration is in 2 years, so we can run this for month now or later. Finally, quick update on JFrog. The storage is still steady. We're staying around 3.7 terabytes, so that's good. Bandwidth was 35 terabytes, which is clearly way less than in February, where it was 52. And the last 14 days cumulated were 11 terabytes. So that means if we keep the current rate, we should have less than 30 terabytes, more closer to 25. So Darin actions clearly had a positive impact on the storage, but some of the cleanup we did on the Atlassian mirror had impact on the bandwidth because something was automatically downloading every new artifact based on the metadata. So we just have to be careful if JFrog asks us things around the bandwidth usage. Any question on the cloud's budgets? Nope. So last milestone. Last milestone, we were able to finish first a bunch of things on CI Jenkins IO in Amazon. Stefan did a huge work to provide local NVMe, at least for the agent workspace on the virtual machines. So whether they are Windows or Linux. Mark, we haven't seen any change on the Flaky test on the Jenkins core due to this. I don't really know what these tests are doing and what will be the reason because the CPU is the same as what we used to have in Azure. The memory amount is the same bandwidth, and now we were using NVMe. So what I haven't checked now is what the Maven process is reading and writing. Maybe it's still writing on the system. If it's still writing on the root device system, it's still the ABS. So yeah, I don't know. I saw some changes on the new SDK.ec2 plugin with the SDK version 2. Looks like we might be able to specify custom IOPS for EBS. So in June, when we will be back to Amazon, that will be worth checking again.
Okay, so to be sure I understand what you said, I think you said that there may be scenarios where the NVMe device is not being used for every operation on that system.
Exactly.
Ah,
Exactly.
okay, all right,
The
okay.
NVMe drive is mounted on home Jenkins agent, I believe, or something like that. So that's where the
Ah,
workspaces are and where the
which
option,
which
the
is where we
M2 repo.
should be writing but if
Exactly,
we're not writing there because we're using a system temporary directory or something
for
like that.
instance.
Right, okay, got it. Thank you.
And on
So,
Windows is on Z
And on
drive.
Windows, it's on Z drive for
okay,
because we uncovered where Docker bugs.
excellent. Thank you. Okay.
So I propose we don't put much more effort on this on the Flaky test because we are going to move back
Right,
to Azure. However, Mark, once we are in Azure, we have to resume checking the Flaky test if they suddenly go back to non-Flaky,
right.
or if they keep being Flaky, which means the infrastructure doesn't have any
Is
relationship.
not right, is not the issue. We had just a surprisingly time correlated arrival of a flaky
Exactly,
test.
exactly. But right now the answer is we don't know, so
Right,
let's have it in mind.
good.
Thanks, Stefan, for this work on the NVMe. That wasn't an easy one, but at least now, thanks to this work, Stefan is at ease with EC2 and he planted some seeds on some of the plugin maintainer EC2 to provide features.
Yes, we still need to provide some Jenkins shirt, by the way.
Good point. We fixed a temporary issue we had uh, indirectly due to the NVMe mount. We were mounting the NVMe in Windows on C Jenkins agent, which was the default agent workspace. It appears that if Docker run the client side or Docker Compose or Docker Buildix, if the client runs inside that kind of mounted point in Windows, which is not, uh, so meaning on a drive, which is different than the drive C. You can have mount point in C that are a distinct drive. That's possible since years. But if Docker doesn't have the same drive for all paths in C, then it fails with where error message and only with Docker Windows containers. So that's why we had to move to Z, and that's okay. We control the agent workspace value. And it just fixed the issue. That was a fun one.
But that
We,
means that the agent's value, the agent path value on Windows are now Z.
yep, that which is fine. I mean, Jenkins is built to support that since years. We also fixed end of file unexpected issues that were due to Windows Docker using our transparent proxy. The transparent proxy is not tuned and is not efficient when dealing with layers of more than 1.6 gigabytes with the Windows metadata within. Or I don't know, maybe it's the Windows Docker engine that doesn't fare well with the transparent proxy. We don't really know. But disabling the proxy only for Windows fixed the issue. We don't care about performances here because downloading these huge layers from Docker Hub or from the proxy doesn't change anything. I think it's 1 minute, 1.5 minutes, and you have 3 seconds difference between both. So performances is not impacted. And no risk around the rate limits because all of the Windows images are not stored on the Docker Hub. They are stored on the Microsoft Container Registry. So no rate limit, so no reason to use the registry and less pressure on the registry. So that problem was solved. And also thanks Hervé for helping us on starting to use the buildx toml file so that all the multi-arc builds involving buildx are now using the transparent proxy on Linux, which avoids eventual rate limits. That one will be useful on Azure as well. Finally, we were able to close and finish the Maven caching. So once a week, the BOM builds have their Maven client side renewed on our centralized system. That one will also persist in Azure. And it's monitored by a new acceptance test built on CI Jenkins IO. We don't have notification if it fails, but at least it's failing and we will add improved monitoring. But so once a day, the monitoring checks that the age of the archive is less than 7 days old and that it has a size bigger than 1 gigabyte. If any of these condition fails, then the build fails, and then we will know that there was an issue in the process that filled the cache. Same that will be used in Azure that should help on the BOM builds. Any question on CI Jenkins IO fixes?
No, thanks for your progress. It's great. Thank you.
We had two plugin permissions or lifecycle related things. So thanks for the Jenkins CI admin that archived or deprecated the related plugins. No action from the infra team. Stefan, do you want to give us a word about Jenkins prototype?
Yes, let me remember it. In fact, they moved the Jenkins prototype from Jenkins CI to Jenkins Infra, and by doing, sorry.
The other way around. Now it's in Jenkins CI again.
Yeah, yes, you're right. Sorry, from Jenkins Infra to Jenkins CI, and doing that, they broke their preview system. So they ask if we can provide a preview with Netlify. So it took a long time because I needed some write and some access on Jenkins CI, but I managed to set up the preview in Netlify, not only for the main branch but also for all the pull requests. It's quite simple at the end of the day, and it seems to do the job, and they looks happy about that.
Cool. So that now they are autonomous, so they can
Yes.
iterate on that new Jenkins UI experience. Cool. Any questions so far? Nope. Okay. We fixed a minor issue on CI Jenkins IO controller. We fixed it because since we have to move controllers, usually CI Jenkins IO is a CNAME that points to a subdomain name. And up to now, our settings was only generating certificate for the principal FQDN of the machine. By fixing that problem, we introduced a new feature for us that allows us to define for a given controller a set of alternative FQDNs. Each one are TLS compliant using a Let's Encrypt in production. And we can define with just one Boolean if these domain names should redirect to the principal one or be aliases of the existing one. We have both, and we fix the user issue at the same time. So now if you go to ci-jenkins.ci.org, that's the legacy domain name, you will be redirected to ci-jenkins.io domain name. However, if you go to aws.ci.jenkins.io, that's the alias of the current machine running ci-jenkins.io, you will stay with full TLS certificate system on the machine. That will allow us to create a secondary machine, test it with, let's say, Azure CI Jenkins IO, and once everything is ready, we just have to move the CNAME. We also fixed, while we're here, two issues on Archive Jenkins IO. So we had that old issue since Archive is used as a fallback mirror for both Get Jenkins IO and Update Center. We had that whole issue about the content type not being set properly on Archive Jenkins IO. That was fixed on OSUSL 1 year ago, and we forgot about that issue. And when we tried to fix this one with Stefan, we detected that since at least 1 year and a half, the access log on Archive Jenkins IO were only one line with one word that was reverse proxy underscore combined. So clearly there was a syntax error on the system, on the templating of the access log, which means we don't have access logs for Archive since 1 year. That problem has been fixed. And we now have logs flowing in Datadog for archives Jenkins IO, which means one, we never looked at these logs, otherwise we would have seen the problem earlier. Second, we see between 2 and 5 IP, always the same, that run a script with curl that is responsible for at least 80% of the HTTP 404 we receive on archive Jenkins IO. Most of them are using update center / dynamic on a whole Jenkins weekly version from February 2024, and then // which hints at a variable, empty variable in a shell script. We will open an issue. My proposal is that let's block these few IPs and see if someone complains. They are doing unexpected things, there are no reason, and clearly their usage is buggy. No referrer, so no redirection through mirror bits. They are directly eating the update center metadata, and they are trying to hit /latest/ name a set of plugins. So either they are using an old script or something else, but blocking the IP with an explicit GitHub issue with their IP. If they complain, they will explain what they want to do and we will give us the solution. But yeah, clearly less 404 will be better. On 1 hour, it's 140K 404 for only 3,200. So yeah, 7 times more for errors than served files. That's
Okay,
not a
so
problem. The machine is good enough, but yeah, better to shut it down.
yeah, so it's that they seem to be making the same request over and over again.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, that's which sort of aligns with the horrible abuse we saw a year and a half ago with JFrog being with our artifact instance being repeatedly asked for every copy of every Jenkins release over and over and over again and just wasting bandwidth terribly. And the 404s don't waste nearly the bandwidth, but why waste capacity processing 404s?
Exactly. And also clearly we will help the user doing so because their script will start to fail hard. Even though I have doubts about that because HTTP 4.4 should always make their script fail. However, if curl starts to, that means they don't use fail -- fail flag on curl. So curl received an HTTP answer, say that's good, I can continue processing the script. Now that means they will terribly fail. Like, oh, I cannot connect to that host. So that will be an exit code distinct on 0, even without the flag. However, I hope for the sake that they have the sets-e flag set on the shell script. Otherwise, they won't see the error anyway.
That won't process any CPU for us anymore.
Yes, exactly. In any case, we are winner. So yeah. And finally, we closed an old issue about artifact caching proxy when it was on Azure. And with the previous settings and before the work that there indeed on Artifactory, which I have a gut feeling that was the root cause. It wasn't dealing properly with dependency range, or at least we thought. Now no more problems, so I've closed the issue and pinged the plugin maintainer. If they see an error, they will let us know. I checked a bit the dependency that were under version range, and most of the error were because the dependency was mentioned on the metadata on Maven Central, but was tried downloaded from Artifactory. So I guess the version range syntax wasn't the problem. The problem was the way ACP caches from Artifactory, incrementals, and fallbacks to Maven Central. My guess is that there were a mix of distinct destinations. These things were through the the Atlassian mirror proxy. So now that they're in worked on restricting the available artifacts, this dependency should be downloaded through Maven Central. That could explain why it's working now. So as such as close the issue. We will be careful to retest this once we are back to Azure though. We are using the latest EC2 plugin version since yesterday. Thanks, Mark, for letting us know. Haven't seen any regression. That was good to wait a bit because there was a bug fix related to the SSH hotkey. However, no, I'm saying craps. The technique we use for hotkey was not impacted.
Okay. So I'm just thrilled. Thank you very much for doing that. And you did it Monday morning? You did it Monday
Yes.
during, okay, good.
Yeah.
Monday
Credits to
noon is
Steph.
good enough.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was tempted to deploy it Friday before I started the bomb builds, and I
No.
thought, you know what, that would be
No.
rude
Yeah. Thanks, Mark.
to the infra team then to say, I'm broken, could you fix what I broke? No, that's not fair. Okay.
I know I've did things this weekend, but they weren't at all major things. They were just details for me. So
Right.
yes, and
Yeah.
credits to Stefan for the reminder. I forgot about this Monday, even though I said we should. So thanks, Stefan, because we were able to do it.
Thank you. Thank you very much for doing it. It was heartwarming for me to see that we got it in, and very comforting that no problems and we're just using it. That's great.
On the cloud cost area, so we closed the issue around high EC2 cost because, as we said earlier in the cloud billing, since the past 14 days, we are below 200 daily. That means we are now controlling. They still have opportunity to compress the cost or to avoid paying. We could add internal endpoint for registries and BOM and stuff, but right now that's fine. That involved using spot instances everywhere. Thanks, Stefan, for this. Thanks to his work, we have spot instances everywhere. And it's also part of the build plugin default function. So every plugins, even if they use virtual machine, will try twice on spot instances. And if it fails allocation, it will fall back to what's the name?
On demand.
On demand. Mark, you are muted. I saw you said something. Yeah,
On demand.
on demand. Thanks. Two things about the spot now. First, that means we will have to define the if we don't want to change and remove Stefan change, that means we will need to define false spot instance on Azure that won't be spot instances, but they will present themselves, at least present the label, at least for 2 months, because I don't want to
Right.
roll back.
Right, because we cannot because the Microsoft sponsorship doesn't allow us to do spot instances. So
Exactly.
we have to lie and say this is a spot instance even if it's not.
Yeah. Yeah,
But that's the power of labels, right? So that is
exactly.
exactly the power of labels. The label represents what we want it to represent, even if it's not in fact reality.
Yes, but
Exactly.
we lie to our developers.
Yeah, well, we are telling
Okay,
them a convenient
yeah.
situation.
We tell them you will use a cheap instance that must probably will fail, and instead they have an expensive instance that works very well.
Right.
And if it
That's
failed, they can try to blame the spot instance that is not
Exactly.
the one.
Um, so it's not uncovered,
but
but there is.
that
It was
will be
known.
a change that has to happen as part of the transition back to Azure, right? Because that's the reality. We have grown in our implementation while we've been on AWS, and going back to Azure, we've got to be sure that it's ready. It's not a simple roll back to Azure. It's really we're moving forward onto Azure. We have to bring our features forward. Good.
Exactly. Agent reclaim. So we have that bug in EC2 plugin that was uncovered by Jesse Glick in November. The EC2 plugin implementation doesn't implement the proper agents interface. As such, it's considered each of these agents, even if they are used as ephemeral, so that with the policy that say use it once and then trash it in terms of API lifecycle, internally in Jenkins, they are considered permanent agents and not one-shot agents. That's a distinct interface, and permanent agent says that agent is not expected to go away. So you need a 10-minute timeout before telling that agent is dead, stop the connection. While it's less than 1 minute, and even I think it's just a few seconds now with the latest interface for the one-shot executor. Which means if an instance is reclaimed by spot or deleted, it takes 10 minutes for Jenkins between the first timeout connection. They say, oh, timeout. Let's start the 10 minutes. And after 10 minutes, they say, okay, it's been 10 minutes. I've retried during 10 minutes. It's still not there. So the agent has been reclaimed. Let's retry with the technique that Stefan used. That's a bug on EC2 that is logged in the Jira tracker, and there is nothing we can do about this one while we use EC2 machines.
That's still occurring. They didn't change the code for the V2, the
No,
SDK V2.
no, absolutely not. The problem is not about the AWS SDK. It's not how the
No, it's the
plugin
code of
communicates.
Java.
It's the code, the implementation code inside Jenkins
The
internals.
class used is the old one and not the new one. Got it.
Exactly.
So maybe we should have only one try on Spot.
No, doesn't change.
Mm.
That won't change a lot. Anyway, on other things on the cloud costs, thanks Stefan for removing a unused volume in Azure. That's not a lot, but that's still, you know. Finally, last big thing we were able to work on, Update Center. First, the PKG machine doesn't have anything else related to Update Center anymore at all. That involves no more Apache vhost, no more certificates, no more Update Center data, even on the data sent from Get Jenkins.io local storage to OSUSL and archives. And also, we were able to stop distributing this UC metadata up to the source. Trusted Update Center generation does not copy this data to PKG anymore, and it has been automatically removed from OSUSL. So next step will be stop using PKG for copying the HPI files to Get Jenkins.io. But for Update Center, that's already a lot of things. So we will have to be careful tomorrow, because if I block something, we will see it during the security advisory. That's why I will be there. That's all on the task. That was a lot of task. I'm sorry, it took time. I'm gonna go quickly on the work in progress. On the infra tooling, Jay, can you give us a heads up on the GH rate limits management on infra CI?
Yeah. So basically, the builds were hitting the GH API rate limit because they were being built twice due to tag discovery on the infra CI job. So we have taken the approach to disable tag discovery, and also I'm working on the pipeline script to avoid using tag discovery. So I guess our build time and resources would be reduced to half because the builds aren't being built twice.
So you demonstrated that the BuildX does not need improvements. Everything is already there.
Yeah,
Testing will happen on the Docker-404 project. Is that correct?
yeah,
So be careful for everyone if you merge, if you deploy a new version of the Docker 404 image, do not, because Jay is trying the new workflow, and the new workflow will involve deploying things to the Docker Hub. So if we make mistake, which is okay and should happen, that will be scoped to only that project first. Now whip on the Groovy code now. Is that everything okay? Did I summarize it properly, Jay?
yes.
Any question on that topic, folks? Okay. Um, Stefan had enhancement possible for Packer image. I propose that this one move back to the infra things next, back to backlog, because these are minor improvements. We might move them back in the future. You did the emergent, so it's been 3 weeks without time to spend on it, so let's better move it to backlog. Same for the replacement of account app. We haven't seen a lot of spam and we didn't had time to spend on it. Looks like our Philo contributor, Philip Glantz, didn't had time. And last time we had an exchange, he had a proof of concept running locally on his local K3 S cluster, which is far away from the existing production. Yes, Mark, you raise your hands.
Just a note that there's been about the same volume as usual of spam. We're seeing 1 or 2 a day every 2 to 3 days. And they tend to come in ones and twos. That's okay. I think the volume is low enough that we don't it's not pushing me that we need to do account app. We've got much more important things with cost management and sponsorship changes.
Yep. I still have a expectation or hopes that Philip Glanz will find a bit of time to help us. But yep, that will be for later. So I propose we delay at least for June or during summer. Delay up to June. Resume once we are okay on the cloud billing. Is that okay for everyone?
Yes.
On the support part, so as I told Chris on the question about dumping CI Jenkins IO anonymized data, given the effort we will need to make on this, especially moving back CI Jenkins IO, I said that it's not possible. We won't be able to fulfill the deadline here.
Right.
Chris pushed eventually in May. I said, yes, but we cannot commit. So I'm going to move this back to backlog with no commitment either, because the cost of even one shot is just too much. And we cannot give a free access to the whole data. There are data that needs to be either anonymized or treated. So yeah, that's too much. That underline that the value versus cost of the whole LLM analysis might be to consider. Maybe we should say, hey, no GSOC project on this specific topic, because accessing that data as a cost that is not uh, that cannot be handled by open source project.
That, or we give them sample data from another place, my CI server, for instance.
Yeah.
Right. Where there are other CI instances, there are other instances that are not nearly the same level of risk as ci.jenkins.io.
Or they could run a virtual machine
Run their own.
and on their own and clone all the something plugin Git repository from Jenkins CI.
Right.
That they only have to set up the shared library, and they can reuse the Docker image we provide, which is public. Everything is public, so that could be the conclusion. If they need data, they have to generate the data set from themselves from now.
Right. And I've got massive data in my environment just because I spend so much test time. So yes, we have alternatives for them if they're interested.
Okay. May I let you answer on this one?
Sure, you bet.
Eventually look in May, but no commitment. Mark might have data to help them. The thing is, when I ask question to restrict the scope was to provide infrastructure related LLM decision. If the infrastructure tells us, hey, you are consuming $200 per day on the cloud, yes, thanks LLM, but we already know how to find that information. Right now, the only thing I see could be a way to improve the experience for plugin developer. When the bill fail, if the LLM assistant that would have consumed and analyzed that data is able to tell, hey, it's an infrastructure issue, please retry later, or please fix your test, eventually that could have a value. Other than that, I don't see what value it could bring to the infrastructure part. I mean, we already have advisor on Amazon and Azure. And these LLMs trains on way more data than just CI Jenkins IO. And the answer is they ask us to pay 3 years upfront so they can give us a discount on the monthly prices. Yes, thanks. That was worth running an LLM for that, yeah. So maybe there are other cases here I haven't seen. That's also part of the GSOC discovery process for the student. So is that okay if we keep it open and we move it to backlog and you answer on it, Mark? Cool. Thanks. Several Jenkins core tests back to backlog until we move to Azure. We moved CIGO back to Azure. I will create a tag or a milestone, or a milestone will be better, a specific milestone, CI Jenkins IO and Azure checks that will involve this one, at least the range on ACP, and I have a third in mind, but I forgot. So these are things that we will check back once we are back to Azure. Same for the build failed to resume on EC2 until we move. from Azure to EC2, as it is a specific EC2 issue. I've answered on weekly CI Jenkins IO thing, so it will be delayed. As a reminder, we wrote that weekly CI Jenkins IO, in order to continue being used, must first move out from Azure, and it should be a machine in DigitalOcean. So we can provide agents and we can provide build process to load data from trusted contributor. Delayed until we can move it to DigitalOcean. However, I will add it as a, sorry, since we move it out from CDF, that can be a way not to pay for CDF, or at least decrease the pressure, because we won't save money. We will just have less pods running on the machine, so we can pack more pods. But indirectly, that's still things that won't run in Azure CDF that can be replaced by something else at the same cost line. Is that what you were going to say, Stefan? Sorry.
No, I was going to say that can go in the same line as the Puppet migration that is coming in new issue to 3H.
Done with the puppets.jenkins.io VM migration from Azure CDF to digital. Good point. Really good point. Okay. So we will keeping in milestone for cost reduction. Any question on this one? Docker SSH agents, that's the third one. Since we moved to Amazon, is it due to that one or to something else? I don't know. But the Docker SSH agent specifically had test issue for a specific test, the two last tests. Whether using Windows Nano Server or Windows Server Core 2019 or 2022, the problem is still present even with the fixes we made, no more Docker registry. So it's not related to the test pulling an image that fails to be pulled. There is an issue that we only see on EC2 and that wasn't existing on Azure. So let's see if it's back, if we still have the problem on Azure. If yes, then that means there is something else, but yeah, I haven't seen any difference even with the NVMe and other things. So I don't understand the issue. My bet is that the problem will still be present in Azure, and it's just a Docker upgrade that created that issue, because I saw word thing in Pester, the framework we use inside the machines. Sorry, Stefan, you were going to say? Okay.
I was saying that by moving to the NVMe, I kind of remember that one branch was going through and we just had two left breaking. I think that changed a little, but that was not correcting everything. I'm not sure of myself.
Docker mirror registry. No, I tried with the latest version again yesterday. And yesterday we were using NVMe and it still doesn't change. So yeah, that's the problem with the acceptance tests. Sometimes they are doing a word issue. And we still have the infrastat subject, not back to backlog. We have to contact Andrew. I forgot to do it last week, so my bad.
Well, but in terms of relative priority, that's much less priority than the sponsorship work, right? So
Yep, makes sense.
great.
Okay, on the platform up to date, we still have the Cloudflare Terraform provider 5.x. So 5.2.0 released. Theoretically, it should fix the token issue where the token are recreated each time because the implementation is buggy. But users complains it does not. So
Let's wait
yeah,
for 5.3.
yeah, most probably. WIP, I've started using 5.i provider 5.x on the public Terraform project because we have two Cloudflare Terraform projects, the public and the private one. The private one is aimed at maintaining the states, so that's why it's private, it's sensitive area. But it also is the only location where we can put as code the definition of the tokens we use for Update Center and for Terraform public project to reach Cloudflare API. Because you can only have one level of token in Cloudflare API. You cannot have a token that is used to create other tokens. That's not possible. You only have the admin token that can create token for the other. As such, the token management is as code, but inside the private project. And that's where I broke Update Center deployment, generation, when I tried to use the 5.1 provider, because it was recreating a token despite saying, oh, the token is good, but it was recreating it and removing the old one. The public Terraform project, though, manages other parts of Cloudflare, and that one should be able to move to the 5 dot something line. So still some work here. Not highly prior, but yeah, that might be done. Stefan, a word on the Kubernetes 1.31.
I haven't done much, but I checked all the changelog, and I think that I'm now okay, and there's nothing to foreseen to break as long as I didn't miss anything. But there will be some change around that issue with the new issue to triage that we will read through after that, as we will build and create the new Kubernetes cluster already in 1.31, and that means that we will not have to upgrade them. They will already be in 1.31. We may also recreate public and private K8s to be sure to enforce the new parameters and the new way of building them that we want. So that means that we will recreate them directly in 1.31. So that issue might evolve.
Yeah, Vitess might needs to be recreated. Same pattern. Is it clear for everyone on this one? Good. Stefan, do you feel like you can perform the upgrade of Infra CI agent cluster now?
Yes, I think.
I mean, the only impact are us or eventually people who need
No, that's just this
website
one.
previews.
I was thinking this one need to be done directly from my computer with the apply, because it's
Yes.
the agents of the infra, so it's not by CI.
Yep.
But yes, I could be able
Is
to
it
do that.
doable this Thursday for you? To avoid
Let's see. Yes,
Friday and
yes,
to
yes,
yep.
could be okay, because tomorrow that's the security, so on Thursday would be good.
Cool. No objection? Cool. That let me 2 days to work on the new CI Jenkins IO cluster that you created on 1.31 already. So I will see if we can have Kubernetes management working on it. If it works, we validate and you have a go before end of day tomorrow for Thursday. But plan as if you are going to upgrade Thursday. And we just cancel it if we see bad things. Otherwise, we consider, given your changelog reading, we consider it good, ready to go.
Like, as a reminder, Hervé already gave a green for the 1.31.
Yep,
from
and
his
and
side.
since his area where it was on agent with Kubernetes plugin usage, yeah, that helps for the infra CI. That
Thank you, Hervé. Is
yeah,
it
thanks, sir. Good
No.
point. Okay. Also, oh, okay, I'm having issue regularly that I don't understand. Anyway, so Kubernetes should be good. No breakage expected. Hervé also validated the agent cases 1.31 and 1.32. So that's also an additional trust in the upgrade process. And then we'll state public gates next week. Is that okay for everyone? Good. We don't have anything on the cloud cost. On Update Center, we still have an issue with 404. I propose we delay back to later in April. because that's a minor issue. Is that okay for everyone? Okay. I lost my cursor again. Okay, it's working. I'm having word issues due to Zoom till mid-April. Same for Artifactory efforts. Is that okay if we say until May? Because we'll spend April on other monitors. We just keep monitoring Artifactory, and if we see something going wrong, we react. Is that okay? Keep monitoring weekly and react if things goes bad.
And I assume, have you seen data this week, or do I need to ask JFrog to provide that data?
No. The data I've reported on the
You
cloud
have.
billings
Okay.
have been retrieved today. So these
Great.
are fresh data.
Thanks.
You're welcome. Which led us to new issue to triage. So add to milestone. So we already started to work on this. I've created the issue 2025 cloud usage with the proposal and an order of magnitude of the costs. And so as Stefan said, we have created distinct items. So first, the migration of CI Jenkins.io back to Azure for today. That's the top level priority because as soon as it's back to Azure, as soon we can delay the credits consumption in Amazon. So we did the network part, both of us yesterday, and Stefan finished this morning creating again the cluster 1.31. It's in line. We lost Mark.
No, he said goodbye. He said.
Oh, okay. So Stefan, thanks for this walk. Looks like we have some minor improvement here, but it's more or less working. So I can now proceed with the virtual machine controller back under Terraform management. That means now you have started to work on DigitalOcean. The goal is to migrate Puppet Jenkins.io out from Azure to DigitalOcean. It's a standalone machine with no dependency. So that will be saving money because we can spend it on DigitalOcean. And you are still in Terraform, so eventually doing the weekly part could be interesting. At the same time, I'm going to work on the Kubernetes management for the cluster and a bit of Terraform for the controller. Then we'll see. Most probably Kubernetes for you 1.31. And on my side, I will work on the Puppet part. And we will sync later this week once we will have done all of this. Finally, last thing, I've opened a bunch of issues related to Azure retirement. They might stay in triage unless we see an emergency. And most probably we will have to recreate the two public and private cluster, which is a good opportunity, as we said, to create a new private cluster that hosts Infra CI, Release CI, and two other services. That's all. This cluster, if they're on the new sponsor ring, we won't pay for it inside the current CDF. And we can go on Kubernetes 1.31. So as soon as we have upgraded Infra CI agent to 1.31 and validated Kubernetes management works with CI Jenkins.io agent 1, we have a go to proceed with this new one, at least on private. The rest of issues are inside the black hole of to triage. Keep in triage. Unless I forget something else, I think we're done for today. Is that okay for you folks? Anything else
Perfect.
to add? Cool, so I'm gonna move the milestone and let's continue. I'm gonna stop
Thank you.
screen sharing. And stopping recording. See you next week.
Bye-bye.